Welcome back. On our Sunday Live interview tonight, we have Honorable Najib Balala, the Cabinet Secretary for Mining. Thank you so much for joining us in studio.
Thank you, Janet, and nice to see you again.
Yeah, it's good to see you after such a long time.
Yeah.
In fact, speaking of which, I think the first thing I should ask you is, where have you been? You've kind of been a little low-key, quiet, which I know even in the past sometimes was a bit of your modus operandi. You'd kind of be focusing on work. But what have you been up to lately?
Well, with this new position, you need to lie low politically,
okay,
but from a politician to a technician now. But most important thing, I've been developing the ministry. Remember, I have a new ministry. I have to start everything afresh. So institutional development for the ministry was very critical, and many other things that needed to be done. Well, this is a new sector that we need to focus, and that is where I have been.
Yeah, to focus and to grow.
Yeah.
Tell us how the transition has been for you. I mean, you've been in politics for many years. So you were doing that. You were once in charge of the tourism docket. There was party politics at some point, and now you have this new docket, thriving, has so much potential. What's the transition been like for you?
Well, first of all, let's correct the situation. A CS or a minister must deliver a political agenda on behalf of the president and on behalf of the manifesto of the party that is elected. So people saying, oh, you should not talk politics. You should not talk party politics.
Yeah, that's the difference.
So it is divisive. But delivering a political agenda of the party elected, it is politics. So what we are doing here is that we are saying we are packaging the agenda that was voted for, and we deliver it. So what we have done here is said, fine, we will do the job that we are entrusted. But most important thing, political parties have left it aside. I'm here to serve the Kenyans broad than Mombasa, Umvita, or even my own party, but now it's national.
Yeah, before we even go more into what you do in your docket, has that been difficult for you? There was a time that party politics was a part of who you were. Do you sometimes feel yourself holding back from making certain comments?
The reality is that sometimes I miss. Because as an elected member of parliament, you have the mandate to speak on behalf of people.
Right.
But when you are not elected, then it is somehow compromised for that matter. So I miss that opportunity when you want to speak, especially people like me, who I like to speak my mind, sometimes even against the status quo.
Yeah.
So I'm a vocal person, I speak my mind, I know where we are going, and I'm irritated sometimes. Things are going wrong, and I cannot stand up in public and put the record straight.
Yeah.
So that is what I miss more. And then also, despite constituency politics has its own dynamics and its own pressure and constraints, but sometimes it's good because you're interacting, you're making people, changing people's life on the ground.
Yeah.
Sometimes I miss that, and I miss the people of Mvita.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe someday.
Well, I'm still young, and I believe I will. There'll be time for me.
There'll be time for you. Let's talk a little bit more about your docket and the mining bill of 2014, which was passed by Parliament. It's awaiting presidential assent. What's the current status of the bill? What can you tell us?
Well, first of all, remember, President Uhuru Kenyatta appointed me as a Minister for Mining, and from the 18 ministries, only mining stood alone. And why mining? Do we have mining? Because the Jubilee government realized that if we don't manage mining well, it will be chaotic. We will have civil wars, and that's why he entrusted me with this position. For the last 20 years, people have been talking about mining, and mining bill and mining reforms, but nobody took it up to the last stage. So when I came in immediately, I looked at the mining bill, aligned it with the new constitution, and I did a policy. Mining must be people-centered. If mining does not benefit Kenyan, then there's no need of mining, because otherwise it will create chaos and be exploited, and then we remain with a hole rather with a benefit. So we aligned that. We moved the bill. It went to Parliament. Last year, 28th of November, it was approved, the National Assembly. Then, because it touches to county issues, it has now moved to the Senate. The Senate has just finished a public hearing on the bill, and I believe in the next month or so we will have approved by the Senate, then the President will assent on it.
Okay. Now, you mentioned something very critical, that if it's not managed well, it could lead to civil war, and that's very apt. How do you think you're going to prevent this from happening? Because a lot of people, that's the fear, that with this mining will come the greed and the corruption and the politics, and that the revenue will not get to the local communities and therefore spark this. How would you...
The new policy of the Jubilee government is first to base it on 3 principles. One, it must be a mining bill that is secured, predictable, so that an investor who comes here feels secure with his investment. The second is the transparency of the operations, from licensing to the disbursement of resources and how the operations will continue. And the third is people-centered. It must be equitable distributed in terms of resources. So what we have done is that in terms of stability, we have now a new bill which should be approved by the Senate, so that there's clear-cut, black and white. The investor, when he comes, what is he entitled and what is he supposed, obligated to do. The second thing is transparency. You know, it's a gray area.
Yes, it
is. Where you apply for a license, your application gets lost, and then that information is used and somebody else is given. So I have eradicated that. From 1st of February, I launched an online cadastre licensing process. So you apply online, www.miningcadastre.go.ke. So if you apply for an asset, for a place where you want to mine, if that is available, free, and you have achieved all the required regulations, automatically it grants you the license. So even me as a minister, if it's available and you fulfill your applications, I cannot even revoke that process. So it's transparent, it's online, it's live.
And there's accountability.
And there's accountability. But also it's accountability to you as an investor. If you don't perform, then also the system automatically rejects you. So there's no under the table process that I can compromise the situation. So it's a very open. We are the only one in Africa who has done this.
Made it that open and transparent.
Open.
How will you then gauge thereafter? Would there be systems to gauge?
There are reporting systems, including anybody from my office or any officer of government entering into the system and tempering the system. It is recorded per second. So your application, because it's the first come, first serve, so your application, when it is approved in the system, then it is minuted. And it gives me 90 days as a government to approve or decline the application. So before, you can stay for 2 years without you getting even a word from the government if you are declined or approved. So that has transparency. That's a big thing we have done this year. And then the third thing, how do we distribute this benefit from to the people? And it's a constitutional requirement in terms of natural resources. So what we have done through the bill, 10% goes to the community, and then we will work with the communities how and define who is the community. 20% goes to the county government, and we are telling the county government this money must be used for infrastructure and not recurrent expenditure. And then 70% goes to the national exchequer, which is 50% will go to the sovereign fund and 50% will go to the infrastructural fund. So the money is transparent, everybody knows what he's getting. And then what I've done is that I'm putting a software. Anybody who is exporting or producing the minerals, there'll be online reporting, so that even the governors, when they come to demand how much they're entitled to, they will see it in a transparent manner.
So you already have that system. We don't have a lot of time left, but another important question, you did mention investors, and this one really speaks about them, because in Kenya, most mining locations are still remote. There's no access to social amenities like hospitals, etc. Do you think this will deter investors from wanting to dig into that because of the lack of those amenities?
Well, first of all, mining is a big business and big investment. It's not just a simple investment. And that investment takes care of infrastructure. So it takes care of infrastructure, local community, CRS, and then the investment to the mine itself. For example, titanium is being mined in Kwale. Kwale is only 40 kilometers to the port of Mombasa. Well, you see investment or mining of titanium, let's say in South Africa or in Australia, it is almost 500 kilometers away, and that investor must roll out a railway line. So we are much better here. Same thing with, let's say, for example, mining of gold in Kakamega and Western area. When you go to other areas, there's no road, no water, no infrastructure, and also no local content in terms of suppliers. But key, human resource. In Kakamega area, we have roads, infrastructure, water, and the basic thing is that we have human capital that are ready to be retrained and join the workforce immediately. So we are pretty okay. The only thing that we are doing now, and we are working hard, is to know how many minerals we have, how much, what is the value. That's the airborne survey we want to do to start working this year, so that we can be able to tell the government, the country, and the investor. So don't spend too much money in terms of exploration. We have done most of the job. You just come and do the money.
Oh, so you're trying to take that away?
Because that is a major, first time-wise.
It's very time-consuming.
Yeah, time-consuming. And then it is investment that is not beneficial to the country. So that we are saying that we prefer mining to start, because then there are jobs employed, there are royalties paid, and also in the process of value addition as well.
Okay, all right. Again, so much more to ask, but that's what we have time for now.
Thank you, Jude.
Obviously, we'll be delving into what you've been able to do after the bill is assented to, and all the plans that you have. It'll be interesting to see how this sector develops. I think a lot of people are looking to...
Well, being a new sector is not easy to manage.
Absolutely,
people believe in status quo, so there's been a struggle. Most of the people who have used to do business the way they used to do, unaccountable, they find it difficult to deal with me. And I said, no, you want to deal with us, it must be in a proper manner. And bottom line, Kenyans must benefit. Those people in Kwale, in Turkana, in Lamu, in Garissa must benefit from this resource. Otherwise, there'll be no mining taking place in the country.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Honorable Najib Balala. We hope to see you very soon.
Good.
All right, thank you very much.